do my hair and all that kind of. You know what I'm saying? I got to get dressed, I got to smell good and everything. It takes me 2 to 3 hours to get dressed because it's lights, camera, and action. You know what I'm saying? Like my mouth is like a Uzi, armed and dangerous with a double clip. Hey, baby, this Kitty Red, I got this.
Show your face. Show your face, please, with sugar on top.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Y'all know my slogan. I don't know it all, but I know what I've been through. Now, before we get into this video, please make sure you head on down to Instagram and follow us on our official Instagram page at Hookah Anonymous _. We're able to be a little more explicit, a little more uncensored, and share content freely without running the risk of having our channel terminated. So, once again, make sure you head on down to Instagram and follow us on our official Instagram page at Hookah Anonymous _. We're almost at 100,000 subscribers. So if you like this video, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell so you're notified every time we drop new content. Now let's get into what you guys came here to see. Now, Kenny Red was a lot of things, depending on who you ask in regards to who he was. But one thing we know for sure was that he was loved by a bunch of people and all said similar positive things about Kenny. In a game where the position he played is often frowned upon, females who were under the belt of Kenny Red spoke highly of him, which set him aside from the other pimps who had bad reputations amongst their girls. One of the girls would be Martina. Martina to this day speaks highly of Kenny Red despite him passing away in 2022. The world got to see them both for the first time together in a long time during their interview with Soft White Underbelly. The charisma between the two was shown on camera and displayed the love and respect both had for one another as they recall certain events that transpired during the time Kenny was Martina's pimp. Where most people would assume that after 20 plus years, there's no way that Martina would still have respect for Kenny and show the love that she did, but the interview would say otherwise. Martina had no problem letting it be known that she worked for Kenny and don't regret one thing about it. Kenny was unlike any other pimp Martina would add, stating that Kenny took care of his girls, made sure bills were paid, and even encouraged his workers to be better and not try to be in the game forever. Whereas most pimps wouldn't do the same, they'll do the total opposite, especially if they're making money off them. With the reputation that most pimps get, I found Kenny Red's story to be very different, which encouraged me to do this video on him to show a different perspective on how pimps are perceived and bring awareness to Kenny Red's story. To my knowledge, he was coming out with a documentary himself prior to his unfortunate death, so if this video can help bring the attention to his lifestyle that he wanted before his demise, then we did our job. So we're going to get into Kenny Red's upbringing, how he got into the pimp game, the lavish lifestyle he lived, going to prison, and losing his life tragically in a motorcycle accident. So y'all take this time to sub to the platform if you aren't already. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button to get this video into the algorithm so we could bring awareness to the life and death of Kenny Red. Let's get into it. Louis Kenneth Wright, aka Kenny Red, was born on April 9th, 1961. Born and raised in Oakland, California, East Oakland to be exact, he was more than just the pimp that the world knew him to be. Kenneth was also an actor who has featured in a few series and documentaries himself. In past interviews, Kenny would break down his childhood as being rough, with little room for hope as all he seen was drug dealers, pimps, and killers. With not much opportunity to be anything other than the product of his environment, Kenny would chose the career path of a pimp not too long after his mom would pass away at the age of 37 when he was just 18 years old back in 1979. Kenny didn't know much of his father but would state that he was in fact a junior. With his mother passing away and Kenny pretty much being on his own, he would have to resort to the streets to provide for himself and make a way. With all the adversity he faced, Kenny still managed to finish middle school and go on to graduate high school after. He had two role models that he looked up to for two separate reasons. There was a man by the name of Master Charge who taught him how to hustle and different ways to make money on the street, while another man by the name of Gangsta Brown who taught him the pimp game that Kenny would end up choosing as a career path when he would move to Las Vegas. Kenny would describe in a Soft White Underbelly interview that after combining the knowledge he got from those two men, he would become unstoppable, making him the man he was. In the late 80s, around 1989 to 1990, he would meet a woman by the name of Martina, who began working for Kenny as she would help further his Pimp organization. In the interview that Martina alongside Kenny did, she would describe him as loving and romantic, but only when you made him some money. Martina said Kenny was never forceful like most gorilla pimps, where gorilla pimps are the ones that physically force their women to do things by the act of force. But Kenny would interject and say that although he wasn't that type to force a woman to do anything, if she got out of line and disrespectful, he would check her immediately. Kenny states that respect comes before all, and he'll rather have respect before he has his money. Kenny described Martina as a no-nonsense chick and said she definitely knew how to get some money for him. When it came to the way he operated, he didn't force girls into the life. In fact, he states that most girls are already doing it themselves without even knowing it subconsciously. And although he's a pimp, he never held a woman back from her life goals, and in fact, he always encouraged them to do better in life. He goes as far as saying that if a woman would try to come work for him, depending on the conversation, he wouldn't even let her because he could see that she wasn't even ready for the lifestyle, which is very different because most pimps would try to manipulate or take advantage. In a separate interview, Martina says that the most money she ever brought back to Kenny in a single night was $10,000. Kenny and Martina knew each other for about 25 to 30 years altogether, though prior to his death, they have just recently started talking and communicating once again. Both made it clear that they haven't done anything sexually, but the love and respect that they have for each other will always live between them, as you can see their chemistry displayed on camera. Now, when it came to Kenny's foot in the cross-country pimping, Kenny would make a name for himself back in 1999 when he was featured in a documentary called The American Pimp. He didn't stop there, as he was featured in yet another documentary called Welcome to the World of Pimping Part 2 back in 2012. It was through those features where Kenny Red would become a household name, known for his stylish ways. Kenny was everything a real pimp consisted of, stemming from the fancy suits, jewelry, women, and fly talk, along with the cars. He gave respect and got it back in return, and had other pimps as friends, which consisted of another infamous name in the game known as Bishop Don Magic Juan. Although Kenny lived it up, just like anything else in this world, trouble is always lurking in the shadows. On April 8, 2005, Kenny was arrested and charged for identity theft, money laundering, and taking a minor across state lines. According to court documents, he used a stolen identity and the proceeds from the pimp game to purchase 2 homes worth $1 million. He also allegedly brought an underage girl from Phoenix to Los Angeles to work as a worker for him in the game. However, only one of those charges would stick, as Kenny would plead guilty to 2 counts of money laundering on October 12, 2005, and when it was all said and done, Kenny was sentenced to 33 months in federal prison. In June of 2007, he was released from Terminal Island Federal Correctional Institution. Kenny had a bunch of highs and lows throughout his life, but after his release from prison, he made it very clear that he didn't have any more room for prison, so he kind of played the background. Kenny has made it clear on numerous occasions that the pimp game has changed, so Kenny was trying to go the Hollywood route and have a movie and books put out on his life. According to Martina, that's what the two was working on before Kenny would tragically lose his life on September 6, 2022. Kenny would be involved in a motorcycle accident where he would be pronounced deceased on the scene. The article would state, quote, "Early Tuesday morning, Lewis Kenneth Wright was killed in a motorcycle accident on Highway 58. The fatal collision happened around 3:20 a.m. on the eastbound lanes of the freeway, just east of Broome Road. Emergency crews responded to the scene shortly after. At this time, the events leading up to the incident remain unclear. However, reports indicate that medics pronounced a motorcyclist dead at the scene. The Kern County Coroner's Office later identified the deceased victim as 61-year-old Lewis Kenneth Wright. No further details regarding the crash are public at this time. However, more information will be provided once made available. Now, to this day, it's unclear what the cause of the collision was, but that's the thing about motorcycles. You could be at fault or somebody else could be at fault. It don't matter. And you could also be as protected as you want to be, helmet on, protective equipment, the whole 9 yards. But if that impact is hard enough, it's still enough to cause you to lose your life depending on how you were struck. Now, at the time of his death, Kenny left behind 8 kids altogether, 5 boys and 3 girls. Kenny was also a proud grandfather, as he'd been pictured all over his Instagram out to eat with his kids and grandkids as well. It was definitely something that Kenny took pride in, as he also made it clear that out of his 8 kids, 7 of them have all graduated. With no shame at all, Kenny will also be honest and state that one of his sons are currently incarcerated for pimp-related charges as well and received 9 years for his role. Despite most people not agreeing with Kenny's choice of profession, his interviews will show that he was a very charismatic and positive guy, and so did the love he received from his friends and family. Now, I don't know about y'all, but when it comes to those motorcycles or any type of motorbikes, I've never been a fan of them. The part I don't like is that it don't matter how protected you are, it don't matter how much precautions you take, all it takes is for someone else to make the wrong move, and boom. Either you lose your life or you're seriously injured for the rest of your life. My sister's father was involved in a motorcycle crash and he lost his life on the scene as well. Not to mention, he wasn't even the one at fault. He had the green light to go as he waited for the traffic light to come to an end, but he was hit by another vehicle that was speeding trying to beat the red light. So once again, the problem I have with motorcycles are that it don't matter who's at fault, it don't matter how much precautions you take, no matter what you do. You could lose your life at any given time at the hands of someone else. Right? Somebody else make one more. Like, it's one thing for me to make a mistake and lose my life. I guess I gotta live with it. But for you to lose your life because of the negligence or ignorance or mistake from somebody else, that's the worst, man. So my condolences go out to Kenny Red's family, and rest in peace go out to Kenny Red. He was widely loved amongst his peers and family, and there's people he impacted throughout his journey that will continue to keep his name alive. So rest in peace to a solid one himself, Kenny Red. Y'all jump in the comments and let me know what y'all think about this. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Hit that bell so you're notified every time we drop new content. And remember, as long as you keep on watching, I'ma keep on dropping. I'm out.